Hello once again. Welcome and welcome back. My name is Eric. This channel is called Report and Opine. It is sometime in May 2020. I got the forbidden basement quarantine haircut. But more importantly, I want to take a look back at the last 6 or 8 weeks of this nonsensical New York City quarantine timeline and take a look at some of the, important dates and some of the reasons none of this adds up. Right? So, New York City was completely shut down on March 22nd, 2020. It was supposed to end on April 29th, 2020. But on April 16th, well before the expiration date, the governor extended it to May 15th. And then at the last moment on May 15th, he extended it again to May 28th with an extra provision for emergency relief until June 13th. So we're still told that our jobs are not essential and that it's just not safe, yada, yada, yada. Everybody's dead. I just don't believe that to be true. It was a little scary at first. There were some unknowns, perhaps. But now we know that this has all been nonsense. And I have a little bit of proof that backs it up, right? So I'm sure you saw I hope you saw my old video of me making a phone call to the testing facility, and that was in the early days. And it's gotten only more ridiculous since then. So if you'll recall, they told me, we just don't have enough supplies. We can't just take anybody off the street. Meanwhile, George Stephanopoulos and Kevin Durant are testing positive without having any symptoms. But now we've got these empty parking lots where these employees, these government issues are playing catch with a makeshift football and sleeping in hammocks and all sorts of bizarre things that kind of flies in the face of the idea, a month ago that there wasn't enough tests. But I'll move on. Starting April 10th, the very first day of the testing facility in Brooklyn, it was actually set up, and then they mentioned that they weren't going to be giving anybody any tests because of the high winds. It was just too windy to save the community from this deadly virus. We couldn't do it. Even though there were state troopers and army people there, they just could not figure out how to safely secure a tent so that they could test people for this deadly disease. I was actually on the news that day, local Pix 11. I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt because they are not a national fake news outlet, but they are not to be trusted. On the very same day I was on there, they ran a story about some angry nurses protesting in Bushwick because they didn't have enough protective gear. Meanwhile, they're wearing full protective gear outside of the hospital, waving hand-painted signs. So if they were so swamped, why did they cut and run on the dying patients to paint signs and stand outside and protest? Just a little food for thought. Wow, the testing site is empty. But it's just getting started, so, no big deal yet. And a look at the grocery store line that curls all the way around the block, but no cars in the testing site. Not a one, because keep in mind, it's drive-through only. You can't walk up. But still, no cars. It just goes on and on. I got a couple glimpses through the fence. They did spot me one time and politely asked me no pictures. I mean, there was absolutely nothing going on in there. They want to make it about privacy or whatever, but there was nobody in there except for them. Literally. I mean, you could hear them laughing and giggling in there. Go ahead and check out my Instagram for some, pics or some videos, little live interactions if you, sift through that feed. Then we take a little tour around New York City, Union Square. You could see entrepreneurial curbside cleaning supply salesmen. They got masks and Lysol and alcohol. But I'm told that my job is not essential. This is okay, though. Go out there in a hazmat suit and sell Chinese face masks to, soft-brained New Yorkers. And you got a little glimpse of the mess this is creating. Gloves everywhere, masks everywhere. It's absolutely disgusting. It just knows no bounds. They're right outside my apartment door. They're outside the front door. They're just everywhere. People are leaving them everywhere. And then we got another glimpse. This is on April 12th. So a couple days into the testing site, nothing. Still nothing. Little bit of paparazzi. He's okay to take pictures. I couldn't take pictures. I guess I was just too close, even though this man has a telephoto lens. And I certainly didn't see any reports of an empty testing site show up on the news. So I don't know if this guy, who he works for, what position he holds, but all you hear is about dying black and brown communities. You don't hear one thing about an empty testing facility. And then these signs start to pop up around Brooklyn in the park of all places. Fresh air, trees, flowers, all that stuff. Keep this far apart. They later would go on to install social distancing circles at Domino Park in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, which is absolutely humiliating. But then moving on, April 18th, back at the testing facility, a little gloomy, but still not much as far as cars are concerned. The line at the grocery store, however, is still long, and at this point it's going the opposite way down the block for some reason, but either way, make sure to stand 6 feet and wear your mask. You only get 2 pieces of meat, and you can only bring 1 family member. It's absolutely insane. Then Cuomo goes on television and says, black and brown Americans are disproportionately victims of COVID-19. Okay, so first it was everybody. Then it was old people, which we know you had a good part in harming a lot of old people, Cuomo. But you just pivot and say, well, it's the black people. If you want to go back to your racist, basically. And then, of course, they pivot again and said, well, the kids are coming down with a COVID-related illness, but neither here nor there, right? I mean, we were wrong, we were right, whatever. Just put your mask back on and shut up. This is absolutely disgusting. A little trip uptown to the world-famous Monk's Cafe. I was approached by 2 old Corona Karens that day asking me where my mask was. I pretended to not hear them and kept walking because I just can't deal with these folks. And then the mayor of Atlanta, this doesn't really, have anything to do with New York, but as long as we're talking about this hysteria, the mayor of Atlanta is angry because the governor said they could reopen. Think about that. I'm at a loss by governor's decision to reopen. No, we should keep people locked down. Let's not talk about Zika and swine flu, bird flu, chickenpox, SARS, Ebola, measles, mumps, malaria, all that stuff. This is the one that's coming to get everybody. Come on, guys, wake up. Then we're back at the testing facility, April 22. So this is after the stay-at-home had been extended the first time, well before the initial expiration date. So at that point, I was thinking that Cuomo did that because he knew people weren't going to take it too much longer. But I was wrong because he waited until midnight on the 15th of May to extend it once again. Mind-boggling. Either way, the parking lot remains empty. Cuomo starts tweeting, people will die if we get cocky about reopening. Those who are upset about our careful approach, don't blame your local official, blame me. That's fair enough. I've been blaming you since day one because you've been wrong since day one. Mr. Cuomo, with your fake news, brother. Insanity. Then we got a bunch of articles. Why coronavirus is hitting black communities hardest. Mayor's move to address racial disparity in COVID-19 deaths. Virus is twice as deadly for black and Latino people than whites, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, they flip that switch, they flip that coin over and say, coronavirus-related job losses hit U.S. black Hispanic families the hardest. So pick your poison, right? Are you going to die from the virus or are you going to die from unemployment? Either way, the mainstream news media is clearly using black people as pawns once again. Then we've got Cuomo saying that if you want to go back to work, you should take a job as an essential worker, which obviously reeks of communism. I mean, you have to pick a job from the governor's approved list of businesses. Give it a rest, bro. Absolutely disgusting. Then we're back outside. This lady's wearing a shower cap or a plastic bag or something on her face and a mask. Obviously, I don't know where she's going, but clearly she's an essential worker and she just wants to stay safe out there. If you are that scared, stay home. It's really that simple. Propaganda starts popping up all over the city. This is late April, the 28th, all around Manhattan. Thank you. You are truly heroes. Thank you. Stay home if possible, even if you are healthy. No more, nothing about the curve anymore. That's all gone. It's just stay home. We're doing communism now. Stop the spread. Free meals. So New Yorkers could get free meals just because of the virus, but then free meals for healthcare workers. Oh, thank you. Thank you, healthcare workers. Oh my God. And then, in a strange twist, as far as I'm concerned, G and C is closed. So you can't get supplements or vitamins, none of that stuff. Not essential. But you can go to KFC or Popeyes or Burger King, McDonald's. All fast food is still open. Much essential. Thank you to the food service and delivery workers. All right. Congratulations, guys. You still got jobs. Fun stuff, right? This one really gets me. Tenants and visitors, effective immediately. No tenants or visitors may enter the building without wearing a mask, without wearing a face mask or face covering. So you can't even go into your own building without wearing a mask, apparently. Who is this meant to be helping? Walgreens putting up a little sign to thank themselves. Heroes work here. Okay, I guess so. You can now buy an N95 mask at a restaurant because when you want a sandwich, the next best thing you need is a face mask, an N95. So you can put it on in between bites. Mr. Cuomo, is it okay if I take my mask off and have lunch? What are we doing here? Photo op from Bill de Blasio. Hey, look at him out there saving the black people while his wife is stealing the taxpayer dollars at another no-show job he gave her. But I digress. Then Cuomo gladly accepts 1,000 ventilators from China right around the time that he says we need to make decisions on reopening based on fact, not politics. This one really gets me because at 11:43 a.m. on April 29th, he says we need to make decisions based on fact, not politics. And then at 12:03 p.m., April 29th, he says, Mitch McConnell and his partisan brigade are dividing our country. So in a span of 20 minutes, he goes from saying no politics to Mitch McConnell is a partisan. What planet is this man on? Then we are moving into May now, right? So this is the first reopen New York rally. And as I'm headed there, you could see a couple of people, homeless folks, I believe, charging their phone at the Canal Street station. You could see some clothes just lying on the floor at the Canal Street station. This stuff is absolutely disgusting. And right outside the Canal Street station, I actually caught a man sweeping away a pile of his own poop from next to where I suppose he sleeps. And then we have a little bit of protest footage, right? Cuomo has to go. A lot of well-informed people out there. This gentleman told me about something called the Interstate Commerce Act. There was a little woman out there talking about vaccines, really dropping some knowledge. We have the Jews for Trump guy out there who was wearing his Save America from Becoming Nancy Pelosi San Francisco. It was just a funny shirt. All very peaceful. No arrests made that day, I believe. And then, of course, that very same day, we see this propaganda sign saying, social distancing, your safety matters. This is at a CVS. Please shop quickly to limit your time in public. Thank you. I mean, that's absolutely mind-blowing to me. They're putting, you shouldn't even be out here. Shop quickly. And it's only going to get worse. I'm going to split this into 2 videos, so check back for part 2 of the nonsensical New York City quarantine timeline.